Okay, in our survival situation, we've been here for 3 days. A lot of times when the searchers come, they usually will find someone within 72 hours. And so, when you've been there your 72 hours, roughly 3 days and so on, then you have to make a decision. Do we leave camp and try and walk out, or do we stay here a little bit longer and see if they come along? And here's one where we can't really, I've decided, okay, I'm going to try and walk out. Now, I really can't tell you, okay, here's textbook and what to do. Which direction to go. Well, every situation is going to be different. If you happen to know something about the geography of the land you're in, let's say that I happen to know that off to the west there's a major river, or off to the west there's a road, and it's a big road. And if I head west, I will run into it sometime. Maybe north, there has to be a huge lake. And I know that if I head straight north, I'd run into that. These types of things, if you happen to know those, would be helpful. And now if you're out here in a survival situation and you didn't have your compass, how do you tell direction? Well, go look at our north, find a north and south line, and go look at, find an east to west line. I'll show you a couple of techniques there that you can do. Most people will say, well, the moss grows on the north side of the tree. Well, that's true to a certain extent. Moss is going to grow on the side of the tree that gets the least amount of sunlight. But let's say that you're on a clearing, and this is to the east, and you got a tree line, and when that sun comes up, you're going to find that the actual west side of the tree gets less light than the rest of it because of the light coming through on the east side exposure. And so your moss will be on your northwest side instead of north. If you look, a lot of times the strongest limbs will grow towards the heaviest light. And so your strongest limbs a lot of times will point towards the south. And you can kind of look at that. And these are only general that you can do, but go look at east-west lines, look at finding south and north, and look at those techniques, and those will get you on an exact line. And so those are good. So we've decided, okay, we're going to walk out. We have to, decide on a direction, and then we have to find that direction, and then head that direction. Now, we've decided that we're going to go west. And so, if you've been here for a while, you realize that the sun comes up in the east and it tracks on over and goes down in the west. That's going to give you the general idea. One of the things that you're going to want to do now, when the cavalry's out there looking for you, they have, people searching, they have guys in the airplanes, and they also have dogs out there. And these dogs are very good at what they do. And so it is a very good idea to leave something behind in your camp that you can go ahead and go without that would give the dogs a brand new sniff. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my sock behind, and that way the dog, if they happen to come across my camp, the dog can get a brand new sniff, and it just gives them that much better way of finding you there. Another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want the cavalry to know which direction you left, because you want them to know where you're at so that indeed they can catch up on you if they can. And so it's a really good thing to make markers, and an easy marker to make. Get a Y stick and another stick, and this right here, even an untrained person, when you come across this, would realize, oh, Mother Nature didn't make that, and I know which direction he went, or which direction she went. And so do this. Now I get questions from time to time, well, how often do you make those? Well, how bad do you want to get found? And I would try and make them often enough so that they don't lose your trail trying to find the next one. Okay, so these little markers are something that are very good. They slow you down, but they're going to speed up the guys that are trying to find you. Another thing is they're going to have guys in that group that are trained and they know how to spot signs of where you went. And so it's a good thing as you're going along to go ahead and drag your foot once in a while. Those guys are going to know that real easy. Okay, it's another good thing is as you're going, break off a branch in the direction that you're going. When they see that break, they know that. Now some of the untrained people, they may not spot that, but the guys that are trained, they're definitely going to spot that stuff. So do those kinds of things as you go. Make markers and break limbs, scuff your foot, all those types of things as you go will just help them to find you. Now, if you're out in a prairie and you don't have sticks, what do? Well, we're going to go in the prairie and we'll show you what to do. I actually live in the middle of the Manistee National Forest, and so I have to go inland about 60 miles before I can really find a prairie. And so in order to show you what to do in a prairie, we're just going to simulate that. We're going to use my yard. But what you're going to do in the prairie to mark your trail is you're going to use 3 rocks. Prairies have a lot of rocks. You're going to find 3 rocks. You're going to have a base rock and another rock on top of the base rock. Now that alone will indicate to someone, even an untrained person would realize, you know, that's not Mother Nature that did that. And then the 3rd rock you're going to use as your pointer. And so one rock on top of another indicates there's a trail, and then the 3rd rock indicates which direction you went. And you want those searchers to know exactly where you went, because they're the ones that are going to help find you and get you back home. So when you're in a prairie, you're going to use 3 rocks, one on top of another, and then a pointer. And that's what you're going to do across the prairie when you don't have a bunch of sticks to make pointers with. So 3 rocks, good little technique, and keep that in mind. That could save your life.